The Herdline News.
Let's go back to the NFL. The Pittsburgh Steelers 2-0 with Russell Wilson under center as they head into their bye week. Now 6-2 overall. Nobody's talking about Justin Fields anymore. Russ has looked pretty good outside of that first quarter against the Jets. He's done well. He's got a total of 500 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and he knows the team still has a lot more to prove.
We got great confidence. We haven't done anything yet. You know, we're obviously sitting here at 6-2, which is a great thing, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. When we look back at it all, we got to be making sure that we're staying focused on the next task, and that's to really be take care of our bodies, take care of our minds, enjoy this with your families and all that stuff this bye week, because we got a surge ahead of us that we got to go get, and there's a lot of great games ahead of us, and we're not going to shy away from them.
Such a
it's amazing just think about Pittsburgh. We looked at them as a fraudulent 4-2 team. Now I look at them as a viable 6-2 team just because of one player, Russell Wilson. I mean, it goes to show, and we don't think Russell is elite, but going from, they were 4-2 and we were like, this team is, give me a break. But it does show you that Russell is better than Justin. I look at them now totally differently. They're not going to beat great teams. They'll compete with great teams because of their defense. But just making an upgrade from a young quarterback who isn't really good yet to a veteran quarterback past his prime, but still viable, really changes the perception. I think it changes Mike Tomlin's perception. The one thing Russell's done, he's gone right for Pickens. Like, he is making him target number one. The run game now with Najee Harris is better with Russell Wilson in there. I think he has 3 straight 100-yard or close games. So I do think Pittsburgh, I have them in the top 10. I don't think they're as good as the top 3 or 4 teams, but I think they can compete with anybody with Russell.
So let me look at this the other way. They played the Jets, who at the time were 2-4.
But hammered them.
Then they beat the Giants, who were 2-5. So Russ has basically looked good, above average, against 2 bad teams. And the Jets defense, I don't care what anybody said preseason, they're not good anymore.
But in both games, they dominate the second half. They physically wear down people. Yeah. So it's not just winning. The second half against the Jets was 24-0. They hammered them.
I would blame Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson. But anyways, here's what's interesting. So they have a bye this week.
Yeah.
Washington has a huge divisional matchup against the Giants. Then Washington has to face Pittsburgh. Like, that's a bad spot. So Mike Tomlin now has 2 weeks to prepare for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
And Cliff Kingsbury.
It's a tough matchup for them.
Things are just looking good for Pittsburgh, man. It's crazy. I'll stand by it, Colin. I don't think this is a good football team. But the record of 6-2, you can't deny it. Look at the end of that schedule.
First of all,
that is
they do too many things well not to be a good football team. Excellent pass rush. They're now running the ball. They have good special teams. They're not turning it over. They do too many things. They're not Detroit.
Let me take it back. I rescind good. They're not a great football team.
No,
they're not a contender.
But they do.
I'll take that back.
They do too many things well to not be considered a good football team.
And T.J. Watt is still
They're
walking
very
and
good
breathing.
at home.
Yeah.
They don't turn it over now. They're running the ball. They get a pass rush. They're physical. They look well prepared and well coached. Back-to-back weeks, they've done excellent work post-half.
Yes.
I think they're a good football team. I was wrong.
Okay, let's talk about this. There's a few things that I really want to emphasize on this, but I also do want to go back to the schedule because I think there's a little confusion about this schedule right here. But before we talk about the schedule, because everyone's kind of saying like, oh, Russ is no longer elite and all of that, which I understand, right? His physicality, his physical abilities are no longer elite. That's totally fair, right? At this point of his career, but his mind is elite. And you saw it in that interview right there. The way how he kind of even says it with the smirk, where he's just like, yeah, we haven't done anything yet. It's great to be 6-2, but, there's still so much more work to do and all of that. It's such a grown-up thing to say. And again, he didn't say it in a defensive way. Because sometimes you hear people say those quarterbacks say that or other players, and they say it like defensively, aggressively. It's like, yeah, well, we haven't done anything yet, right? And it's kind of like, it's coach speak in a lot of ways, right? It's like what coaches were drilling into them, and so now they're repeating it, and it feels like robotic. And this is Russ speaking from a true depth of experience, because then he even says we're going into the bye, enjoy it, spend some time with family. Like, again, that is someone who is a legitimate veteran who has done this so many times that he can speak and say, I know we're feeling good. I know we're feeling great. let's feel good about it. Let's recognize that there's still a tremendous amount of work to do, that we haven't done anything yet. But with that said, go hang out with your family, go hang out with your kids, your girlfriends, your wives, whatever, and your boys. Just chill, enjoy it, and it just speaks, because it speaks to the actual reality of the situation, right? That's what matters, and it's authentic. And so, yeah, that is elite team management is what I'll call it, right? We talk about like game management and game preparation. This is elite team management. It's keeping the locker room connected and rooted in reality, right? Knowing that there is a ton of work to do, but also, hey, let's also enjoy what we're doing right now. It's just very balanced and it's authentic. I can't express enough how important the authenticity is for a locker room, because you can only kind of fake it so far in a locker room, right? A coach can only go so far by giving you all these canned one-liners until it finally is like, you either know what you're talking about or you don't. You're either speaking to the reality of this team right now or you're not, right? You can keep telling us we have a true chance if we just put in the hard work, but if that's not actually true, right? Because coaches say it all the time, we can keep up with anyone as long as we put in the work and play at our best, right? And it's like, sometimes that's true, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a coach just trying to rally the troops. And again, you can only, BS that for so long. And you have to speak to the reality of the moment. And so to see the Steelers speaking to the reality of the moment, to me is just so great, because again, it's authentic. It's authentic. We've seen teams in the past kind of say similar things, but it didn't feel authentic. Like the Dallas Cowboys, for instance, are a great example of that. Or it's the flip side. The Dallas Cowboys don't say that type of thing, and they say it. They celebrate like they've just won, the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the NBA Finals all rolled into one. And it's like, bro, it's week 11 right now, right? So to see the Steelers recognize that, and to see quite frankly, their leader, Russell Wilson, their quarterback, is really awesome. But now let's look at this season, this schedule, right, in terms of this tough games. Listen, these divisional games will always be tough. The Bengals, the Ravens, and the Browns, I get. But at the same time, at the end of the season, week 16, 17, 18, let's look at that. The Ravens, that will probably be a tough game, but who knows what the division looks like at that point, right? Maybe the Bengals have it locked. The Steelers have it locked, or maybe it's the flip side, right? Maybe the Ravens have it locked. Like, who knows how competitive and how much they'll actually want to really reveal what they have in store for one another. Because then you have to think about playoffs. Same thing with the Chiefs. For all we know, the Chiefs have completely locked in the 1 seed by week 16. Right? They win week 16 and they got the number 1 seed. And so they're certainly, both of these teams are certainly not going to try to like reveal everything they have to each other, because this could be a legitimate, this could be the AFC Championship game preview for all we know, right? Like you really don't know. So it's like, how hard will either team be in that point? Will Patrick Mahomes even, what will Mahomes be doing? How much, if Pacheco's back, are they really going to be handing him the ball 20 plus times? He's still recovering from being, from being injured and all of those things. You just don't really know how those games would necessarily unfold. Are they really going to want to use Travis Kelce as a workhorse, a few weeks before playoffs start? So you just don't know what that game could even remotely look like at that point. Or maybe it's super competitive because now both the Steelers and the Chiefs are fighting for the number 1 seed. Like, that's my point. You can't just automatically assume, oh, Ravens, Bengals, Chiefs, like those are going to automatically be tough games. Because I think, again, week 18 versus the Bengals, one, the Steelers may not need this game. Maybe they're resting their starters. Or if they do need this game, the Bengals could be like, we're done. We're not in the playoffs. We're not even close to being in the playoffs. Jamar Chase is sitting out. T. Higgins is sitting out. Joe Burrow is sitting out. Like, so you just don't know. So just to automatically just be like, these are all tough games, I get it. Right, on the surface, it's definitely a harder schedule at the back end, and it's definitely not going to be easy. And I'm not trying to pretend like it's like it will be, but it's I just think it needs to be unpacked a little bit more. And so many of these games are going to be so situational, quite frankly. So it's going to be interesting to see what the standings look like by, say, week 13, week 14, week 15, to see how important all of these games are for all of the people that are involved, right? Like, to me, that's what's going to be really telling. But yeah, the Commanders or the Steelers should beat the Commanders. I think the Commanders are a really great team. But again, I'm looking at it through the lens of like, do I see the Steelers as being a legitimate contender, right? Do I see them as being like a legitimate top team in the AFC or even just in the NFL as a whole? And if that is the case, then yes, Mike Tomlin and that defense should be able to make a rookie quarterback, no matter how great he's playing, uncomfortable, right? Russell Wilson and that offense should be able to take advantage of a weaker defense, right? And again, you're playing the Ravens. You're either better than the Ravens or you're not, right? You're either the best team in the division or you're not, right? So at the very least, you would expect to at least split with the Ravens, right? Again, divisional games can always be a little wonky, and it's not necessarily in order to prove that you're better than them doesn't mean that you have to go 2-0 against them, but at the minimum, you're going to split against them, right? And you should be better than the Browns. I think the Browns are a better team with Jameis Winston right now, of course. I think they were always not as bad as what they looked like with Deshaun Watson. So that's kind of technically a catch game that you saw with the Ravens. But again, the Steelers, you're either a great top team in the NFL or you're not. So if anything, when we look at the schedule, especially maybe weeks 10, 11, and 12, and maybe even 13 if we want to go that far, to me, it's more interesting to be like, okay, we get to figure out actually, is this team good? Is this team great? Is this team elite? So as a Steelers fan, I'm going to be like, well, yeah, I'm actually excited to say. I don't want just easy games. I don't want to just face the Jets and the Giants and the Raiders. I want to see some of these games because I want to see where we stand right now. I want to see if we clearly prove that we're better than the Ravens, right? Or do we eke out a last minute win? Or do they blow us out? Or do we blow them out, right? I want to see, right? Is our defense cohesive enough where, yep, we can absolutely take advantage of a young quarterback, right? We got a young rookie quarterback. Sure, he's been playing great, but we got Mike Tomlin in this defense. We are going to make him look shook the entire time, right? Like, I want to see, can we do that? Yeah, the Browns are a little peppy right now. They beat the Ravens. They're feeling themselves. Jameis Winston's, giving out Bible quotes and stuff like that, and giving all these very interesting interviews, I should say. But we bring the Browns back down to earth. We say, okay, that's cool. You got a new quarterback right now. Congratulations. You're not us, right? Like, those are some of the things that I want to see. Not unlike what the Eagles did to the Bengals, right? Like, to me, that was a barometer game. That was a telling game to be like, the Eagles really put a beating on the Bengals. And the Bengals were like, we have no answer for this, right? The Bengals had an answer for the Ravens. They had an answer for the Chiefs. Yeah, they didn't win those games, but they at least had an answer. They didn't show to have an answer for the Eagles. And to me, that signaled to me, hey, the Eagles are actually a pretty good team right now, right? Like, they are closer to great than good. So that's what I'm looking for from the Steelers these next few weeks. And I think, again, if you're a Steelers fan, that's a good thing to see, right? That's exciting because you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to be able to start to actually have a deeper sense of confidence around who this team is. So it automatically just jump to conclusions of, oh, they're not that good, or oh, they're kind of fool's gold, or oh, whatever, this, that, and the third. Like, let's see what they look like in weeks 10, 11, and 12 more than anything. And that, to me, is where we'll really get a great idea of what this Steelers team is all about. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Pittsburgh Steelers, about Russ being the quarterback right now and kind of how he's been handling this, about J-Mac saying that they're not as good as people think they are, and Colin saying he was wrong, that they actually are? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.